Monroe starred in 3 movies that were released in 1953 and emerged as a major sex symbol and one of Hollywood's most bankable performers. 115-116. The first was the Technicolor film noir Niagara, in which she played a femme fatale scheming to murder her husband, played by Joseph Cotten. 117. By then, Monroe and her makeup artist Alan Whitey Snyder had developed her trademark makeup look: dark arched brows, pale skin, glistening red lips and a beauty mark. 118. According to Sarah Churchwell, Niagara was one of the most overtly sexual films of Monroe's career. 103. In some scenes, Monroe's body was covered only by a sheet or a towel, considered shocking by contemporary audiences. 119. Niagara's most famous scene is a 30 seconds long shot behind Monroe where she is seen walking with her hips swaying, which was used heavily in the film's marketing. 119. When Niagara was released in January 1953, women's clubs protested it as immoral, but it proved popular with audiences. 120. While Variety deemed it cliched and morbid, the New York Times commented that the falls in Miss Monroe are something to see, as although Monroe may not be the perfect actress at this point, she can be seductive even when she walks. 121-122. Monroe continued to attract attention by wearing revealing outfits, most famously at the Photoplay Awards in January 1953, where she won the Fastest Rising Star Award. 123. A pleated sunburst waist-tight, deep décolleté gold lame dress designed by William Travilla for Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, but barely seen at all in the film, was to become a sensation. 124. Prompted by such imagery, veteran star Joan Crawford publicly called the behavior unbecoming an actress and a lady. 123. While Niagara made Monroe a sex symbol and established her look, her second film of 1953, the satirical musical comedy Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, cemented her screen persona as a dumb blonde. 125. Based on Anita Lou's novel and its Broadway version, the film focuses on 2 gold-digging showgirls played by Monroe and Jane Russell. Monroe's role was originally intended for Betty Grable, who had been 20th Century Fox's most popular blonde bombshell in the 1940s. Monroe was fast eclipsing her as a star who could appeal to both male and female audiences. 126. As part of the film's publicity campaign, she and Russell pressed their hand and footprints in wet concrete outside Grauman's Chinese Theater in June. 127. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes was released shortly after and became one of the biggest box office successes of the year. 128. Crowther of the New York Times and William Brogdon of Variety both commented favorably on Monroe, especially noting her performance of Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. According to the latter, she demonstrated the ability to sex a song as well as point up the eye values of a scene by her presence. 129-130. In September, Monroe made her television debut in The Jack Benny Show, playing Jack's fantasy woman in the episode Honolulu Trip. 131. She co-starred with Betty Grable and Lauren Bacall in her third movie of the year, How to Marry a Millionaire, released in November. It featured Monroe as a naive model who teams up with her friends to find rich husbands, repeating the successful formula of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. It was the second film ever released in CinemaScope, a widescreen format that Fox hoped would draw audiences back to theaters as television was beginning to cause losses to film studios. 132. Despite mixed reviews, the film was Monroe's biggest box office success at that point in her career. 133. Monroe was listed in the annual Top 10 Money-Making Stars poll in both 1953 and 1954. 116. And according to Fox historian Aubrey Solomon, became the studio's greatest asset alongside CinemaScope. 134. Monroe's position as a leading sex symbol was confirmed in December 1953, when Hugh Hefner featured her on the cover and as centerfold in the first issue of Playboy. Monroe did not consent to the publication. 135. The cover image was a photograph taken of her at the Miss America pageant parade in 1952, and the centerfold featured one of her 1949 nude photographs. 135. Marilyn Monroe, born Norma Jean Mortensen, June 1, 1926 – August 4, 1962, was an American actress, singer, and model. Famous for playing comedic blonde bombshell characters, she became one of the most popular sex symbols of the 1950s and early 1960s, as well as an emblem of the era's sexual revolution. She was a top-billed actress for a decade, and her films grossed $200 million, equivalent to $2 billion in 2021 by the time of her death in 1962. Long after her death, Monroe remains a major icon of pop culture. In 1999, the American Film Institute ranked her 6th on their list of the greatest female screen legends from the golden age of Hollywood. Born and raised in Los Angeles, Monroe spent most of her childhood in foster homes and an orphanage. She married at age 16. She was working in a factory during World War II when she met a photographer from the first motion picture unit and began a successful pin-up modeling career, which led to short-lived film contracts with 20th Century Fox and Columbia Pictures. After a series of minor film roles, she signed a new contract with Fox in late 1950. Over the next 2 years, she became a popular actress with roles in several comedies, including As Young as You Feel and Monkey Business, and in the dramas Clash by Night and Don't Bother to Knock. She faced a scandal when it was revealed that she had posed for nude photographs prior to becoming a star, but the story did not damage her career and instead resulted in increased interest in her films. By 1953, Monroe was one of the most marketable Hollywood stars. She had leading roles in the film noir Niagara, which overtly relied on her sex appeal, and the comedies Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and How to Marry a Millionaire, which established her star image as a dumb blonde. The same year, her nude images were used as the centerfold and on the cover of the first issue of Playboy. She played a significant role in the creation and management of her public image throughout her career, but she was disappointed when she was typecast and underpaid by the studio. She was briefly suspended in early 1954 for refusing a film project but returned to star in the seven-year itch 1955, one of the biggest box office successes of her career. When the studio was still reluctant to change Monroe's contract, she founded her own film production company in 1954. She dedicated 1955 to building the company and began studying method acting under Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio. Later that year, Fox awarded her a new contract, which gave her more control and a larger salary. Her subsequent roles included a critically acclaimed performance in Bus Stop 1956 and her first independent production in The Prince and the Showgirl 1957. She won a Golden Globe for Best Actress for her role in Some Like It Hot 1959, a critical and commercial success. Her last completed film was the drama The Misfits 1961. Monroe's troubled private life received much attention. She struggled with addiction and mood disorders. Her marriages to retired baseball star Joe DiMaggio and to playwright Arthur Miller were highly publicized, but ended in divorce. On August 4, 1962, she died at age 36 from an overdose of barbiturates at her Los Angeles home. Her death was ruled a probable suicide. Home
1944-1948, modeling and first film roles in April 1944, Doherty was shipped out to the Pacific, and he would remain there for most of the next 2 years. 48 Monroe moved in with her in-laws and began a job at the Radio Plane Company, a munitions factory in Van Nuys. 48 In late 1944, she met photographer David Conover, who had been sent by the U.S. Army Air Force's first motion picture unit to the factory to shoot morale-boosting pictures of female workers. 49 Although none of her pictures were used, she quit working at the factory in January 1945 and began modeling for Conover and his friends. 50-51 Defying her deployed husband, she moved on her own and signed a contract with a Blue Book model agency in August 1945. 52 The agency deemed Monroe's figure more suitable for pin-up than high-fashion modeling, and she was featured mostly in advertisements and men's magazines. 53 To make herself more employable, she straightened her hair and dyed it blonde. 54 According to Emmeline Snively, the agency's owner, Monroe quickly became one of its most ambitious and hard-working models. By early 1946, she had appeared on 33 magazine covers for publications such as Pageant, U.S. Camera, Laugh, and Peak. 55 As a model, Monroe occasionally used the pseudonym Jean Norman. 54 Through Snively, Monroe signed a contract with an acting agency in June 1946. 56 After an unsuccessful interview at Paramount Pictures, she was given a screen test by Ben Lyon, a 20th Century Fox executive. Head executive Darrell Zanuck was unenthusiastic about it. 57 But he gave her a standard 6-month contract to avoid her being signed by rival studio RKO Pictures. Monroe's contract began in August 1946, and she and Lyon selected the stage name Marilyn Monroe. 59 The first name was picked by Lyon, who was reminded of Broadway star Marilyn Miller. The last was Monroe's mother's maiden name. 60 In September 1946, she divorced Doherty, who was against her career. 61 Monroe spent her first 6 months at Fox learning acting, singing, and dancing, and observing the filmmaking process. 62 Her contract was renewed in February 1947, and she was given her first film roles, bit parts in Dangerous Years 1947 and Scudahoo. Scudahey. 1948. 63 The studio also enrolled her in the Actors Laboratory Theater, an acting school teaching the techniques of the group theater. She later stated that it was my first taste of what real acting in a real drama could be, and I was hooked. 65 Despite her enthusiasm, her teachers thought her too shy and insecure to have a future in acting, and Fox did not renew her contract in August 1947. 66 She returned to modeling while also doing occasional odd jobs at film studios, such as working as a dancing pacer behind the scenes to keep the leads on point at musical sets. 66 Monroe In a publicity photo taken in 1948, Monroe was determined to make it as an actress, and continued studying at the Actors Lab. She had a small role in the play Glamour Preferred at the Bliss Hayden Theater, but it ended after a couple of performances. 67 To network, she frequented producers' offices, befriended gossip columnist Sidney Skolsky, and entertained influential male guests at studio functions, a practice she had begun at Fox. 68 She also became a friend and occasional sex partner of Fox executive Joseph M. Schenck, who persuaded his friend Harry Cohn, the head executive of Columbia Pictures, to sign her in March 1948. 69 At Columbia, Monroe's look was modeled after Rita Hayworth and her hair was bleached platinum blonde. 70 She began working with the studio's head drama coach, Natasha Lytess, who would remain her mentor until 1955. 71 Her only film at the studio was the low-budget musical Ladies of the Chorus 1948, in which she had her first starring role as a chorus girl who is courted by a wealthy man. 64 She also screen tested for the lead role in Born Yesterday 1950, but her contract was not renewed in September 1948. 72 Ladies of the Chorus was released the following month and was not a success. 73 month and was not a